Welcome to my energy update. And it's been a while and I've been very, very quiet on the channel and I've just been posting here and there, and I felt that I needed to do an energy update because there's been a lot going on. And also as well, I just wanted to share with you guys and just kind of like explain to you kind of like where I'm at, because I'm going to be going a little bit quiet because I'm actually in the process, which I'm sure you are as well, in kind of like really laying to bed the old timeline, because it's been layered, and we've just been through a tremendously powerful month of March, which I'm going to get into in a second, of like, you know, just that deepening into the transition, really get into the depths and the layers, which has been very, very challenging. And I'm just getting this very, very strong sense, which is unusual for me because I'm always active with sharing, and they're like, you need to stop now and create a very, very quiet space and go into that, you know, honor the vessel, as it were. And I think that that's what we're all going to be feeling. You probably got your own version of that, where you're just feeling that you need to just come away from everything. So I've been very quiet on my phone to a point, you know, connectivity, emails, whatever, and videos, obviously, you know, because I'm feeling really that I need to just, and what am I talking about here? It's about receiving. So this is really honoring the divine feminine and everything we've been through. So this is kind of like, video is all about balance. It might be a bit lengthy because I've got a lot to share with you. So I will be a bit quiet in the coming days. We will still be going ahead with our temple catch up. I will be back online by the time I get to Cape Town next week. And, you know, there'll be, yeah, I've got some Sekhmet stuff to share. I've been getting so much channels, so much guidance from her, and we're about to be called to step it up in a big way. So watch out for those videos that are going to be coming, and very much the temple gathering is all going to be in the name of Sekhmet. But for now, this is kind of like all about honoring you, honoring me, honoring the process we've just been through. And, you know, let's just talk about the month of March, right? Without going into like all the intricacies of the new moon, full moon, solar, lunar, blah, blah, blah. Let's just talk about it as what it was. That was their portal, or rather, it was very much like the Great Pyramid. It was very much like the tour in Glastonbury, which is basically where souls go to die. And we kind of have done that. We've basically been walking in the physical world at the same time in the underworld, and, you know, because that's what we do. And we've been dying, and we've been going for that death. Now, let's talk about the tone of the month of March, just so you know, maybe you can relate. Now, I came here on the 10th of March, and I came to London, dropping my kids off because my daughter's joining her brother to live in London. And of course, for me, that's a very much of an end of cycle. My human aspect is like, oh my God, you're going through a death, and I'm grieving the loss of my children. Yet, in truth, my starseed self is like, well, we're a real international family. This is only going to get better now because nothing's really changing. So I've been walking my grief, but then also oscillating between the higher perspective of like, everything's fine, everything's not fine, everything's fine. But of course, the human aspect is what we're talking about here. There is such heavy, deep, dark energy in there. And that's where the dark feminine has taken us to right now. So I have been in the depths of my grief and sadness, which I think I now can identify. I've had it like all my life. And this came up massively when I got to Avalon, because I came to London, went to Avalon thinking it was all going to be magical and amazing, and the mothers took me to the depths of that place that I did not want to go to. I do not run on my heels and turn on my heels and run away from everything, but anything but grief. Oh my God, this time I was like, I was, get me out of here, get me out of here. I nearly got on a plane and came home, and then one of my friends in Avalon was like, you got to face it. Face it now and see it through to the end. It took everything in my being to do that. And I did it. And it was very, very painful. Now, you might have a similar thing going on there, or it may be anger. But either way, there is a very, very deep, dark, wounded feminine aspect of self that you would have been taken to in the month of March. Now, not for us to dive into it or churn up old stuff, just an awareness to understand that if that's where you've been, you're laying it to rest, right? I've had ayahuascas easier than this. And for me to say that, that's like next level. So that was the month of March. Now, what I was not aware of is when we came into the new moon, which was on the Saturday, the new moon solar eclipse, right? Then the next day, that was on the 29th, on the 30th, I had no idea that there was another astrological event, which was all to do with Neptune and the goddess Lilith. Yeah, that I've just mentioned her, deep, dark. That's the dark feminine. I just didn't name it maybe. But yeah, the deep, dark feminine, that's who was responsible for that, taking us to the absolute depths of self, right? that was who was basically dancing around us after the new moon on the 30th. So that was also just before March hit. Let's just get that last one in there. And when I learned about that, I was like, well, this explains everything as to what we've been through, right? So now as I come back, I'm in London now, I'm just catching my breath, and that is why I'm really feeling this deep sense. It's just to create space now, come into my own space to receive what I need to receive, because there's a massive closing on old everything, basically. You know what I mean? It's all, we're going into a brand new time, and this is what I'm going to share with you now, because I'm going to share with you a brief story which actually came from the Quran. Not a religious person, don't study the book, the holy books at all. But anyway, I'm going to try and keep this story brief and then go into the points that I've written down, okay? So now, 2 days ago, I came back to this same place, staying on a place on the Thames in London, right? Get here, what are the chances that this place is basically Egyptian, run by Egyptian people? I was like, what? This is crazy, right? 2 days ago was Eid, right? So when I came back here, I stayed here, then I went to Avalon, then I came back. I knew it was a bit Egyptian, but I didn't know the depths of it. So anyway, when I came back, I felt the need to smudge this place. I was like, yeah, I need to smudge me. I need to smudge this place. That's what I did, right? So I basically circled the property once, smudged, release. Came back into the same room, the same lounge, smacked my ankle on the TV cabinet, looked down, huge cupboard door had been opened. Asked my children, has anybody been in here? No, no one's been in here. I was like, well, I was only in here 2 seconds ago. I did not hear this cupboard open, but it opened on its own. Some supernatural stuff going on. Now, remember, this is the day of Eid, right? So already it's all getting a bit weird because I'm getting lots of messages from Egypt, and they're all kind of like blessing messages and everything like that because they're in their happy holidays. So then this cupboard falls down at the same time. So I look in the cupboard, I'm like, what do they want to show me? Well, inside there's a prayer mat and the Quran in Arabic. And I was like, this is crazy, okay? So I was like, what does this mean, okay? Because we know it's something deeply significant. Now, like I say, I haven't studied any holy books because I tap into there. Maybe it's time that I did, and maybe I will, you know? But either way, this book comes out, take the book out, and I start to translate it, okay? The first page. And basically, this was all about re-establishing the understanding of divine law, balance, justice, truth. And that is what the Quran's all about. Apparently, I'm going to have a look into it, but it's got some very, very powerful teachings. And I think all of the religions actually did the real truth teachings until they got distorted. So I was like, wow, well, let's look in a bit deeper as to what I'm trying to be shown right now. So this is messages from the Quran, and this is very, very relevant and poignant into the new timeline we're going into. So why I'm sharing this with you is because this is why we must really not over dramatize or anything like that. I'm just making it understood as to how big your journey and mission is and how important it is to now create space to close, to start the new timeline. So we're not rushing with this. You've got to receive the healing, the support, the divine guidance so you can listen to where you're going to go to next. So this is why you've got to slow your life right down. Like, you know, maybe even watch less videos. Watch mine and then watch less videos. But you know what I'm saying? Like, do not cloud your whole being, your space with other opinion. Just go into your own space, listening to your own inner voice, and that's it, and that's all. Because where we're going, that's the new way, right? So that's what I'm saying. So the book of the Quran. So one of the messages of that whichever spirit basically reached out to me, and funny story as well, is when I tapped in and I went into a channel, I was like, who is this showing me? And they were like, they came through and they were like, well, why can't you read the book? And I was like, because it's in Arabic. And they were like, but why can't you read the book? So whoever was connecting with me, right, remembered me in my Egyptian self. And I was like, I'm English now. I only speak English. And they're like, why? And there was this confusion. And I was like, no, I'm not Egyptian anymore. And they were like, oh, okay. So I thought that was quite funny. Anyway, so divine law, justice, and moral order. Okay, so we're really going through a reset. We are returning to our origin source codes, restoring the ancient laws before they were distorted. So really this is coming into your original blueprint, right? So this is why it's so important to give yourself this time so you can really come back to a reset. Think about wiping everything off your computer, going back to the factory settings and starting again. but better, right? Upgraded and all the rest of it. That needs time and space. That needs to be honored, right? So that was one of the messages as to why I was being presented with the Quran and what needs to be done here. It's like the divine masculine rebuilds the sacred order and architecture. And as a big overview, this is what's going on, because ultimately this video is all about divine feminine and divine masculine balance, right? The two coming in, because whatever we built before, okay, really, really important just to let that go. Sacred architecture and sacred structure needs to be rebuilt, because it has a different purpose. So in our everyday lives, we go on about the divine masculine and feminine all the time, but like, how does that look like in our real lives? Creativity, the energy, the frequency, the channel, everything that you are needs to be supported by a divine masculine structure and architecture. If you have a business, you need to look at how you structure your business and what your morals and boundaries are all about. If you have a relationship, you need to restructure maybe the relationship and reestablish new boundaries and get orderly inside. Do you know what I mean? It's all about speaking your truth, but you have to know what it is that you need and you want, and you have to know that it's okay to speak it out loud. And then when you do, those are your boundaries, that's your sacred architecture, and that will reduce so much anxiety and all of the things. So we really do need to go into this quiet space to see what our new sacred temples need to be built like. What does it look like? What kind of paint do you want to put on the wall? Do you know what I mean? What's its requirements? What do we need? Because it's going to be different to what you had before. So your building is going to look different, right? So now the next thing, challenging perceptions, initiations into new insights. So one of the reasons they were showing me the Quran is that perception changes and belief systems fall to reveal new ones, invited to explore with childlike wonder other teachings, other wisdoms. So the Quran's going, hey, here you go, have a look at this. And you know what, maybe I'm supposed to literally read the Quran, maybe I'm not. Maybe it's just for them to stimulate, to say, listen, there's other things that you've missed, and wipe the sleep out of your eyes, see different things. But I think on a bigger level, of course, even each and every one of us are going to be called into a different place now, different vibration. Our lives are going to mean something completely different, right? So it's encouraging us. So the Quran was encouraging me to actually look at different teachings and wisdoms, maybe study something different. Do you know what I mean? Because there's a lot more out there, right? So now, another reason why that book was showing to me is because new spiritual paths and revelations. Now remember, when I had that book revealed to me and that cupboard just opened on its own, I was smudging the house. Why was I smudging the house? Because I needed to just be clean. I'd just been through a massive death process, so much grief in Avalon. I really had the stuffing kicked out of me. And I needed to just clean and close on that. So this is all about renewal, cleansing, you know what I mean? Healing and all of those things. So now new spiritual path and revelation. So now we've closed on that. You know, we need to clear the space, clear the clutter, so we can see here the new spiritual revelations, right? A new door opens. So that when the cupboard fell down, that's a new door opening. That is so Hecate, because she opens doors and portals. So she was very much up in this mix as well. It will bring you initiation into new opportunities. So that's a real great sentence. Initiations into new opportunities. If you're too busy running with the old, or if you're too busy being busy and not having a little bit of quiet space like I'm talking about, how can you hear the truth when it's all mixed up with the old stuff? Do you know what I mean? So for you to know where you're going, you've got to let go of the good stuff and the bad stuff. It's all in the old timeline, done. So now you need to let your body heal, because March was intense. You need to let it restore, recalibrate, reconfigure. Okay, reconfiguration is different to recalibration. Reconfiguration is completely taking the armor off, rebuilding the engine, giving it a new body parts, whatever. That's reconfiguration. Restructuring and all that kind of stuff is like, it's kind of aligning with what's already going on. So we don't really want realigning as such. We want reconfiguration into the brand new, right? So also what the Quran brings us as well is divine protection, because I've done a little bit of study into it, and you know, and we're being guided to the next place. Give space and let that happen. Currently releasing all the dark and heavy energies, because remember, the dark and heavy energies, it's just illusion. It's just memory. And I want to talk a little bit about your experiences, what's going on. So what came to me when I was in Avalon was that, so basically there's a lot of past life stuff going on. Now, I don't do too much work in past life because it's this life that is relevant. All of that is just memory of the past and projection of the future. None of it has happened. This is the now timeline, right? So you're going to be feeling a lot of past life bleed through, but it's going to be felt here, right? And I'm going to explain that to you, how it unfolded for me. So my daughter ended up coming to Avalon with me for 2 days. You can't write this shit. She wasn't supposed to, but she was going through such a meltdown here that I needed to, I was like, well, I'm on my way to Avalon. Why don't you come for a day or two, do some healing, off you go. And I was like, yeah, tickety-boo. Well, she came. I thought I was helping her. She came, and then just having her in Avalon with me just ignited all of this deep pain and grief. And that built. And it built and it built to the point when she wanted to go. I didn't tell her this. I was inside. I was like, don't go, don't go. And I was so traumatized about her leaving. I was like, I'm going to see her in a few days. What's the problem? She left. I got plunged into my darkness like hectic. And what came up was that it was a past life that we'd had in Egypt, go figure, another one. But it was all about abandonment. And I've had that a lot with my daughter. But either way, the past lives don't matter, but the energy mattered, because that's another soul reclamation. I needed to reclaim that soul part and bring it back. So blessings to my daughter that she came in and left me with that clanger. But it was like it was meant to happen. And it was intense. And I was so scrambled with the pain I was going through that I couldn't process it because it was too much. It was too big. And I remember thinking, this is way bigger than what it is. And it was because it was past life. So if you're experiencing some big stuff because of the month of March and all the intensity of stirring it up, then of course you're going to feel all of these past life breathe throughs, but it's all of these different timelines, but it's happening here. So deal with it here. Don't get too distracted in going out back with the who's, the where's, the how's. I didn't need to know what the story was. I just know that me and her were sisters in a past life. We got split up again. That's all I needed to know. It explained the grief I was feeling. So yeah, we got right with that. And as I say, I'm still working on that now. I'm processing it because I have to leave London and go back to Cape Town. So there's going to be another layer. Of that. But anyway, we just, ease and grace, It's just, yeah, that's how you must move through this stuff, So, cupboard door opening again, talking about the scenario of the book being shown to me. Sudden reveal, because the door just went bink. Okay, well, I wasn't in the room when it happened, but I'm sure that's what it looked like, right? So something that was concealed is now being shown to you, to me, right? So basically that whole experience was like, okay, it's been concealed up until now. So now if you look at it in the bigger picture, so that cupboard falling down, sudden reveal, there you go. And inside of it was deep wisdom and knowledge and spiritual, understanding in the book. So if we zoom out a little bit, how cool is that? So I feel that we are all about to access some deep, deep, deep wisdom, and that's your superpowers and stuff like that, that we're going to now bring forth to take into the new timeline, because it was only supposed to come out at that time anyway, right? And just with that as well, a message that I got the other day, and something that I heard on TikTok as well, which backed it up, was that the universe, I love this, the universe only reveals or puts out their most strongest players and contestants when the game has got to its most critical point. So that's us. That's why we're only waking up now, because shit's about to get real in the world, but shit's about to get magical inside of us, because we decided to do the inner work to be able to step into our inner authority, to be able to hold it down while the world burns. The world needs to burn. That is very, very divine feminine, because when it burns and it goes to ashes, everything goes to the ground, then we get reborn again. And that will be the world. So the world will be catching up on our process a little bit behind. But we're good, because we kind of went through what the world's going through last year, year before that, right? Makes sense? Okay, a new path of wisdom is going to be revealed to you and me, right? Because I'm feeling that, which is why I need to go into my quiet space to allow it to percolate, as it were, right? So the Quran contains verses on fairness, truth, and unseen realms, right? Now, a message to balance your life, building new sacred structures that supports, not oppresses, okay? Divine masculine now comes to serve you. up to date, it's actually taken us out because it's basically been the shadow and it's been the control, manipulation, oppression. That's what we're seeing all over the world. But our own inner masculine has done the same, held us back because, oh, you're not good enough, held you back because, oh my God, what if we're not safe, so on and so forth. So now the divine masculine is changing its energy and it's coming into the truth of what it really is, which is basically divine sacred support and protection for you, right? So the divine masculine now comes to serve you. And Sekhmet speaks, I've mentioned it earlier on in the video, she speaks, I was talking to Sekhmet today, and she speaks of this anxiety due to the lack of this sacred architecture and structure of the divine masculine. Now, I'm going to get into this a bit more when I really dive into the Sekhmet work after I've come out of this quiet pocket, because she's really preparing me for a new level of teaching. And trust me, if that's what's happening to me, then you're going to be prepared by Sekhmet for a new level of showing up. So just be ready for that. But right now, we just need to come into this space. So basically, that's what's happening. We're in the process of dealing with our grief, our anger, our sadness, the deepest depths and darkness of the divine feminine, which is Lilith, being brought to our knees. And then we're able to kind of like come back and see with clarity of what needs to come into balance, which I actually think has been the absence of the divine masculine, because I think if we have a sacred, strong grounding and support in the sacred architecture, I think that then all of this energy and power, because let's face it, we can all tap in up there. We all find it so difficult to come in and live in this world, but there is no other place apart from here now. And actually, this is so divine and sacred. And we've been clearing all the shit out the way. It's almost like we've been trying to land, but the divine masculine and the physical and living here in a physical body has had too much shit for us to come in and land. So we've been clearing. Because everything I speak about, the grief, the sadness, the anger, all of that kind of stuff, that's a human construct. It's not really real, because you are the I am presence. I am is like there's no separation, but our human aspects need to be acknowledged, because they're actually really, really important, because that is the pathway for us to being embodied. And so many of us don't want to come here. They want to go up there, which means forever be in purgatory. It's not easy. It's not hard. I acknowledge your process. I acknowledge, what you're going through, because man, I have just got taken hard. And you know what? At the time, I was not there for it, but at the time, now, I look back on it, I'm like, yeah, that needed to happen, because if I hadn't completed on that, or I had run away from it, I'd only have to do it down the line. So if you're in that bubble of intensity, let me tell you, I was there last week, this too shall pass. If you've come out the other side, shine that light, man, shine that light. And I give kudos to you for your success codes on completing that. But I'm really just going to end this video on just, really, really honoring you to be in your quiet space. As I say, I am going to be a little bit quiet. That gives me anxiety because I'm always teaching and sharing. So that's a bit of a challenge for me as well. But just know that the new way, no anxiety, flow, confidence, all of the things. And, it is a process. So frustration and anger, if that's what you're feeling, just be with it. Let it evaporate, okay? Call on the dark mothers Lilith, Hecate, Keridwen, Sekhmet, and they'll guide you through. Anyway, with that, I'm going to leave that there. Greetings from my Egyptian house on the Thames. Love and blessings to you all. For those that are watching from Egypt, happy Eid, even though I'm a little bit late. But yeah, peace and love, y'all. I'll see you soon.